Yeah, so the Police Accountability Act in Maryland of 2021 set forth quite a few changes in policy and procedure in policing. Um, at no time, one thing that you hear quite a bit nationally is you hear the outlawing of chokeholds from a use of force standpoint. I was never taught and don't know of anybody that was ever taught in Maryland to use a chokehold during defensive tactics, during the academy, or any subsequent advanced training. But that's something you hear nationally, that they're being, outlawed and barred, and I don't ever recall ever being taught that, or anybody again that was. We do have to stick to the strict use of force continuum. So use of force can start with simple orders verbally, requests. And then it goes, to physical with hands. Then you have your intermediate with your things such as tasers, pepper sprays, asp batons, and things of that nature. And then obviously it goes to lethal, which is the one that we want to avoid at all costs, being the use of a firearm of some kind. So those things all still stay in place and maintain as usual, as they have been. Where we've seen the law changes, it's mandated right now by July 1 of 2025. All police agencies have to have the body cams in place, the body worn cameras. That's something the Chestertown Police Department was very fortunate enough to get a grant from the Governor's Office of Crime Control and Prevention in September of 2022, and in December we received these devices. All of our officers are outfitted with them right now. We received the training in December, and we went live in mid-January once we were able to test and make sure that we had, quote unquote, all the bugs worked out. But we've been using it now for almost a month, and they're fantastic. They provide a very good level of security for the officers, in that they know that they have to, for the lack of better terms, maintain their P's and Q's. They need to make sure that they're providing good customer service, good officer safety tactics. There's things that they can go back and watch later to say, okay, well, I need to do this differently. I need to do that differently. And they give a sense of comfort, hopefully, for the public as well, because they know that all the officers' actions are being, documented in video that's unbiased and not able to be manipulated. So the old saying of there's three sides to every story: your side, my side, and the truth. These are what we look at as the truth. So we are very, very, very happy to have them in place. So the battery life on these are about 12 to 14 hours or so, usually enough for a full shift. They are only activated when an event takes place. So our training and policy would say that when we're about to have, when we conduct a traffic stop, we're going to handle a call for a theft, or we're going to handle a call for disorderly, or whatever it may be that we're required to go ahead and activate those early on, before the conversation or the citizen contact takes place. So basically, it's all citizen contacts we're supposed to have the video on. We do have a couple of other add-ons that we have. One is going to be in place with our sidearms. So when the sidearm is removed from the holster, it'll automatically activate the body cam. Because in a life or death situation, it may not be the first thing that comes to an officer's mind is to, turn the camera on, but by withdrawing or drawing the weapon from the holster, that's going to activate the body cam. And then another feature that we have that is not in place yet, but it will be very soon, is activation with emergency lights in the vehicle. So if we get in the car to respond to an incident, if we're pulling a car over on a traffic stop, anything of that nature, the lights come on, the body cam comes on. Yeah, so there's some fail-safes in there as well. And we found ourselves just at this stage making sure that we're reminding one another. We're reminding each other to make sure they are on, and making sure that we remember to turn them off, quite honestly. So, yeah, so transparency is a big part of the Police Accountability Act, and it's also related to Anton's law. That was Anton Black, who was from the Chestertown, Kent County area, in the incident over in Greensboro and Caroline County. Transparency, for me personally, has always been, a pillar of who we are. We need to be as transparent as we possibly can be, but transparency is something now that's being, more put out there as part of this bill, and it requires certain documents to be turned over to the public upon request in the proper manner and channel, specifically with regards to personnel records, anything that would deal with a subject, an officer's use of force history and things like that. Transparency is also encapsulated in the body cams. Again, we're getting real-time documentation of what's taking place on any interaction with the public. So that is part of it. Another couple things that we're dealing with on an administrative level is, for the first time ever, physical fitness tests will have to be provided or have to be given each year, and they're very basic, but they are designed to make sure that an officer is able to basically hold their own on the street, as opposed to elevating a situation because maybe they're physically unfit, elevating a situation that maybe could have been done on the lower end of the use of force spectrum, elevating it to a higher level because of the inability to perform physically. Yeah, and then the one other aspect is it is now every other year, so every 2 years each individual within a police agency has to submit to and pass a psychological exam, a psychological screening. Both the physical and the psychological were things that were only required at entry level prior to the Police Accountability Act. So those are two things, and we do believe that on a negative side, there are unfunded mandates that are put down. So the burden, of that burden comes down to the individual agencies or the jurisdictions such as Chestertown or Kent County or Rock Hall here locally. But the good thing is that it will find a way to get through it, and it is one more layer of protection both for the police officers and for the public. I think that our biggest challenge is honestly staffing, and it's staffing because of a lot of the negative rhetoric that's being spread in society that police are always in some cases going to be deemed to be wrong before right, bad before good, and that is not very compelling to somebody that's turning 21 years old, whether they're finishing a high school or college or wherever it may be. You hear that negativity put on the profession first, and then money, liability. I mean, there's 100 things that you could go into why people don't want to become the police anymore. And I remember, nearly 30 years ago when I got in, I had to apply to several agencies and decided to take the first one that offered, and simply because it was so hard to get into. And now you almost feel like you have to beg to an extent, and we certainly don't want to do that. But we are also here in Chestertown looking for quality over quantity. I'm a big proponent of customer service, good working relationships with the community. We're not always going to give every individual exactly what they want, but we want to treat people as individuals and human beings first. Making sure that we protect every right that they have, while also being safe and doing our job, because our job is to enforce the laws. And if we choose to turn a blind eye towards certain things, it's a quality of life issue, or worse, for certain sectors of the community. And we don't want anybody getting run over by a car in a crosswalk, so we're going to enforce traffic laws. We don't want people overdosing, so we're going to enforce the drug laws. And we can go on and on. No, just that I, as we discussed earlier, now I'm on not quite at 2 years. I'm not quite at 18 months. I'm sorry. So about 16, 17 months here. I'm very appreciative of the way I've been received by the community. I hope that the public does know that we're working very hard for them, and we're always accessible. We're always going to be open to questions or ideas, and while we can't do it all, we'll do our best to do as much as we can. And for me on a personal level, I really love this job, and I love being here in Chestertown, and I appreciate the opportunity to do that. And I hope to be able to do it for some time in the future.